Hey everyone, Jim Phoenix here. Welcome back to another amazing episode of Invite Me In. Whoa, spooky, spooky. It's season of the Buffy Buffy the cheerleading vampire slayer. There you go, vampire slayer. Season 1, episode 2. Oh
Yep.
Man, I can't wait for episode 2. And of course, we've got the person who's never seen it before, me, and the person who's seen it once recently, boom, Travis. Say hello.
Hello.
And we've got the super fans of Xander. Say hi.
Hello.
And Jess. Say hello.
Hello.
All this of season 2. If you have not listened to season 1 recap, me neither, but you should probably do that right now. And come on back, sit on down, stretch your legs out. If you're a super fan, great, join us. Let us know how we're doing. If you've never seen Buffy, maybe this will get you off your butt. It hasn't gotten me off my butt yet, but I'm starting to get there. So without any further ado, take it away, guys. Season 2, episode 2. Season 2, wow. Season 1, episode 2. What's the title? What's the title of this episode?
The Harvest.
The Harvest. Wait, wasn't the title of the last episode?
No.
Oh, that's right. Never mind. What was the title of the last episode? Probably just like pilot.
Welcome to the Hellmouth.
Welcome to the Hellmouth. All right, cool. So the Harvest, and I'm guessing this has to do with plants. And
Yes, exactly accurate.
awesome.
Vegetarian vampires.
Oh, good.
Oh, so we're a Twilight podcast now.
Yes.
Oh.
For Twilight, I did like that movie. I'll tell you right now, and because they really took vampires in a new direction. Mostly downward, but
all the
still.
Twilights are on Netflix, and I'm trying to get Travis to watch.
Yeah, Jesse actually brought that up last night. She's like, you know what? We should watch it. And
I will go ahead and just say this right now. I will respectfully skip that podcast.
It's how many Twilights were there? Like 12?
4?
4?
3.
4 books, 5
4.
movies. I think there's a new book now,
God.
Oh no!
Oh.
which is just the first book, but from Edward's perspective. So
And
creepier.
then because of Twilight, we also have 50 Shades of Grey because of Twilight.
And
Yes,
because
we
of that,
do.
We also have Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Exactly.
No, wait, because of Buffy, we probably have Twilight. That's what happened. Yeah. So, okay, Twilight versus Buffy. Who would win in a match?
Buffy.
Wait, Buffy. Okay, Buffy would kill everyone in Twilight, just like
Yeah.
Wolverine
Yeah.
style.
Why?
Like
Because she's the
Buffy?
vampire slayer, or is it like that clear of a gap?
Or I just don't like Twilight.
Ah. All right, Jesse, you're the unbiased one.
I mean, she's way stronger than them.
Okay.
She's
Wow.
just their.
Well, she got overpowered by this vampire in the last episode. So,
I mean,
That is
she's not
true.
infallible, but these other vampires, like in the last Twilight, there's like this whole big epic battle, but there's actually not, because she's like, "Oh, I saw it all with my mind, so we're gonna prevent it in the first place."
that sounds stupid.
There's no real fighting in Twilight. It's all just like, I think this werewolf wants to sleep with me, but he actually wants to sleep with my baby.
That's hot.
Oh, yeah, that's just...
You called Giles creepy, but you're defending the werewolf pedophile.
Hey, man.
What's a werewolf?
Don't judge.
One's British, you know?
That's the
Basically the
distinction.
same.
Yeah.
Okay, so for episode 2, The Harvest, how does it start? What's the cold open?
It starts open with a cliffhanger because you see everybody
Dun, dun, dun.
surrounded by vampires in the cemetery. Jesse and Xander and Willow are all surrounded by vampires. Buffy, by Luke the vampire, Buffy is pinned down inside a coffin about 2 seconds away from being bit. Speaking of Luke the vampire, I was looking him up, and the guy that played him, a guy by the name of Brian Thompson, had already been doing movies and TV shows for like 10 years before this. Like, his first movie role was the original Terminator.
Really?
Wait,
Uh-huh.
what?
Yeah, the Luke vampire. And then he was also in Cobra, the Sylvester Stallone action movie.
Oh, yeah.
That he was the night slasher. He was the bad guy. And then
Oh,
on top
wow.
of that, if you guys have seen Mortal Kombat Annihilation, the totally not horrible sequel.
There's a sequel to Mortal Kombat?
Yeah, it's awful. But no, he plays Shao Kahn. So this guy has been around making movies and TV since 1984.
Wait, he plays Shaka Khan. How does that work out? Oh,
Yeah.
Shao Kahn. I said Shaka Khan. I'm like, how does that even
But
work?
no, he's been around since, he's been doing movies and TV shows since 1984.
Oh, he's a vampire.
And so he had already been doing movies and TV shows for almost 15 years before he had even done Buffy.
Well, that's a great way to get into high school.
I don't think we also explained to you last episode, Jim, that he's a big dude. Like, so he's big, he's broad, he monologues
He's broad
within
in
his
monologues.
chest. Yes.
Well, vampires can sparkle, they can monologue.
Yeah, he was also classically trained, so that's where the monologuing comes from.
I mean, that makes sense. He's good at the monologuing. But, it's just...
He did do a lot of stage work, but I was like, yeah, this guy had been, it was one of those, he looks familiar even under the makeup. I'm like, oh, he was Shao Kahn in the shitty Mortal Kombat movie, and had already been acting for 15 years before the TV show, so no wonder I've seen him in stuff before.
That makes sense.
But yeah, he was he has that distinctive look, and he's like, look, hey, I can't complain because it gets me work, because you always need to have the bad guy.
Yeah, and now that you're saying that, I'm just realizing we never see him out of vamp face, do we?
No, he's one of the only ones that doesn't.
Yeah, him and the Master, I think.
Yeah, because even Darla, you see, at the beginning of the first episode, you do see her out of, I guess you would say out of character, for at least a little bit, so... Yeah, I think he's one of only the two, main vampires, I guess you would call it, that stays in character the whole time.
Yeah.
So, does Darla come back for the second episode?
Yeah, everybody that's still alive at the end of the first episode is back for the second episode.
Yeah, and they're dragging Jesse away in the cemetery. If you'll remember, he was Darla had already snacked on him a little bit, so he's pretty weak with blood loss. As Xander and Willow are trying to escape with him, they're surrounded by the vampires, and they end up fighting not well, and Jesse gets dragged away.
Okay,
and Buffy conveniently has a cross necklace that Angel gave her. He came bearing gifts. Yeah, and so that's how she gets away from Luke, is she burns him with the cross.
It's the Deus Ex Machina.
Yes.
Does Xander help people get away on a skateboard or one of those scooter things that a Segway maybe? I think that would be cool. We
literally never see the skateboard again.
Oh,
yeah.
Damn.
First scene only.
Only the first scene? They couldn't afford it. They probably lost it. I can't afford a new one. It's $30.
Nicholas Brendan probably just lied on his resume and said he's a good skateboarder. And then they filmed that scene and they were like, yeah, no, we're not doing this anymore.
Yeah. When we went good, we didn't mean not kill yourself on it. That we needed some tricks. Okay. Well, okay. Oh well. So we set the tone early on. Boom. Got the burning cross. He runs away. Everyone's kind of happy. Does anyone talk about this at all at school the next day?
No.
Yes.
That was one of my things about this.
The kids do. They're like, oh, well, we need to figure out what's going on. But they never mention the fact that, hey, I wonder if Jesse's parents know that he hasn't come home yet. Or, wow, where's the police to talk about how a kid went missing and people died at the Browns last night? That never gets mentioned. We'll
discuss that too towards the end of this episode because I have that's a whole issue that I have with this episode is they never recognize any of the shit that's going down. Nobody gives a shit that people are dying around here. It's never brought up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but it does after credits. It starts off with Giles in the library, kind of giving his lecture about demons. He explains that whole vampires are technically demons thing. And Willow and Xander are just they're in disbelief of everything that they've seen. And Buffy's like, yeah, no, I did the same thing when I first found out this stuff was real. I was like, oh, surely I imagined it. It was a trick of the light. None of this is real. Maybe, whatever. So she's talking about how she went through this whole thing. And also, I just need to talk about the fact that Xander is wearing a lime green shirt with mushrooms printed all over it. It was very distracting. I made a note of it.
So am I. Well, about the mushroom part, that's weird. It's more of an aquamarine, so it's not quite lime green. So that would be distracting in lime green. But I wonder if that's just his cape. He's just a flare guy. Maybe that's what it is. He just needs some sort of flare. I have a question about the bronze from the last episode. I guess sort of last episode, but more important this one. So Willow and Jess were going out. Was that the two people?
They got picked up by vampires.
Oh, they got picked up by vampires.
Yeah.
Right, okay. Then the vampires are picking them up at a club of teens, but like that one guy, if he was in Cobra, he's got to look old as fuck.
He was
there. Not. Yeah, no,
he
was not one of them.
He's basically the master's like number 2.
Yeah.
Number 2. So So they use like age appropriate vampire looks for that club.
Yeah, despite the outfits, they were young looking.
Okay. And
well, they looked the same age as the rest of the actors. We'll say that.
Yeah, that's a better way to put it.
Okay, so mid-20s. Cool. We're lucky. All right. Yeah, that was the one thing I couldn't get my head past. I'm like, okay, so they're going for virgins. They're like, hey, you're like 35? Sure.
Actually, to be fair, he would fit in with the doorman because the doorman is like even more jacked than Luke is.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So, but see, the one thing I did kind of like though is that this wasn't a town where it's like, oh, we're used to vampires and werewolves and all this crazy stuff. Like the town has no idea. So whenever Buffy's like, hey, shit's about to go down, people are like, you're weird because this is they're still considered mythology. So this is the fact that vampires and things, it's new to people.
Yeah, they're not out yet like True Blood.
That's the thing it's weird to me though. Like, is this something that is just now happening in this town, or has it been something that's been going on for some time? Because is it because of the Hellmouth?
I don't think they ever established that. It's because the first episode started with Darla, so I don't know how. I don't think they really established on how far.
Yeah. And it's really confusing too, because we'll get some more of the Slayer lore as the series goes on. But as you know from the opening monologue, it's like into every generation a Slayer is born. And it's like, is this the only place in the world where vampires and things exist? No,
because she was in LA before where she burned down a whole nest of them in a gym.
So it seems really inefficient that only one Slayer would exist at a time. Although it's very convenient that she happens to have moved to Sunnydale.
Yeah, that kind of, I mean, it may be addressed later, but it kind of feels like that was deliberate. Like somebody orchestrated that potentially, or am I off?
I literally am not going to spoil anything.
Okay.
Aha, see, it was a trick. I was wondering the same thing though. I really was like, oh, maybe it's just like this big plan.
Yeah, it's like, is this convenient or is this just, a plan? So I guess we'll see.
Is this Doctor Strange breaking his hands in the first act? For those who didn't watch the movie, I hope I didn't spoil the first 5 minutes of it. But
no, that's also the origin of Doctor Strange to begin with, anyways, in the comics. So,
is that okay? All right.
Yeah, that's why he has to go searching because his hands were ruined and
predestined.
Basically, the movie is origin-wise. The first Doctor Strange movie is pretty spot on to the comics.
Sherlock Holmes, cool. Yeah. Okay, so we have the unrealistic aftermath, sort of, already starting, and no one kind of believes it.
So really the only people that have witnessed anything at this point are Willow and Xander, and they're in disbelief. Like, they believe it, but they don't, like, what the fuck did we just see, kind of. We're not quite at that suspension of disbelief yet, because there is going to be more shit going down at the Bronze this episode.
There's more shit at the Bronze. Okay.
Yeah.
Dude, the Bronze is always popping.
Yeah. So, but we do see that Giles is basically swearing Xander and Willow to secrecy about Buffy is a Slayer and all of this. And then they're trying to figure out how these vampires are getting around. And they point out that there's tunnels all underground Sunnydale. Again, very convenient for purposes of the show, which, honestly, I'll give it to them. In writing, they didn't trap themselves into a corner with anything with this, at least.
They basically is like, hey, how did this happen? And they have at least somewhat of a legitimate reason. It's not like, oh, ta-da! Like, no, like, they do explain. Like, I noticed that I don't know whether with the first 2 episodes are basically one episode. I don't know if they were filmed separately or it was one long script. You could tell it almost seemed like at least between the two halves there's different writers because the characters themselves seem more developed and three-dimensional. They're not just one character trait. And there's a big difference, I think, writing-wise between the first 2 episodes.
But is
Hold
it
on,
enough?
I'm pulling it up now to see if they're different writers because there are different writers for different episodes.
Sure,
Right.
and it does seem like the characters are like you see Willow kind of falls into the I'm the quietly strong character who, hey, I can do the computer stuff, and Xander is less weird. He's like, look, I just because Buffy's the Slayer. Got Giles as her watcher. Willow's the computer girl, the smart one, and Xander kind of instead of just jumping in because he wants to, he kind of wants to jump in and do things because he wants to feel if I'm going to be part of this group, I want to contribute.
Okay, so same writers because it was Joss for both, but the director of the first episode was Charles Martin Smith and Joss Whedon, and then director of the second episode was, let me scroll back down, John T. Kretschmer. So I don't know if it was necessarily a difference in script or a difference in directing.
But there is a noticeable difference between the characters, though.
Yeah, things become very quickly much more fleshed out.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of cool, and maybe they just like, hey, we give a crap now. And if you watch, and I did have, I kind of know what Willow looks like because I'm pretty sure that's the person who looks just like my ex-boss, which was kind of freaky. But so she's redhead, right? That's
yes,
Willow?
yeah,
okay. And then Xander is the skateboarder, and okay, got it. And Giles is just British. Cool, got it. Now, do they keep that secrecy?
Yes.
Do they? Wow.
Yeah. So basically, they're trying to help out with things. Willow's talking about trying to figure out, the map for the underground tunnels and stuff. And Xander wants to help fight. And when Buffy's like, "I don't want you getting hurt," he's like, "I want to be a real man." So there's, they want to contribute, which is. Again, and this is just important to remember as we go on, that this is not a typical situation for a Slayer. A Slayer is meant to be alone.
They don't establish that, though, do they?
I mean, they kind of hint at it in the first episode.
Because Giles kind of seems into the whole team aspect.
I think Giles, now that he sees that Xander and Willow already know what's happening, and they have some useful information, that he's just kind of going with the flow right now because they got shit to do. All hands on deck. And then Buffy thinks she's going to go try and figure out where the vampires might have been. And as she's just walking out the front gate in the middle of a school day, Flutie catches her, the principal, and he's like, "You're cutting class on your second day?" And she's like, "Oh, I'm getting books for Giles." And he's like, "Nope, that's not how that works." So we do kind of have another adult being like, this adult seems like he's not doing things the way you're supposed to.
Yeah. And I like that everything that's happened between the first episode and now has been one day.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
This is all so the beginning of the first episode prior to the credits was the night before. Then everything from the rest of the episode was literally one day, and this is day 2, and all this shit's happened in basically 30 hours?
Yeah, just about.
Mm-hmm.
But the good news is, even after Flutie locks the gate, Buffy is super strong and has an insane vertical leap.
In broad daylight. Nobody noticed.
In heels, by the way.
Well, as long as it's heels.
But, can we talk about how strong her ankles are? Because she's got, like, Bryce Dallas Howard and Jurassic World level ankles if she can do that in heels.
No.
I mean, she fights evil and she does it
stylishly.
Yeah.
What was that quote? I think Ginger Rogers said she can do anything that a man can do, but backwards and in heels.
Yeah, that's the gist of it.
Yeah.
That is kind of cool. Now, is this okay? When you're showing this, and it's very girl power, I'm guessing.
Yeah. But it's not overly like girl power, the girls can do it, guys are yucky. No, this is like, hey, this is not. You basically, it's the opposite to where, oh, the blonde cheerleader, she's the damsel and she needs to be saved. And now it's like, oh no, the pretty blonde girl is the one that's going to kick you in the face.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It's not like there's obvious like girl power and feminism inklings and touches to the show, but it's not overdone.
Yeah, plus we also have the character of Xander, who is not feminist.
It's almost like in most shows, Buffy would be the damsel and Xander would be the hero. But in Buffy is the hero and Xander kind of plays the damsel for the most part.
Yeah.
How does that work well?
Yeah, it kind of does, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Like, throughout the series, you're like, oh, he's basically the eye candy with Buffy being the hero.
Mm.
They don't really. They kind of make him comedic, but they don't necessarily make him like
helpless.
Well, no, they don't really make him relatable, I guess, because he does like make a lot of like weird comments.
I find him insufferable for the first few seasons. His arc throughout the whole series, he improves, but I do not like him, especially in this first season. And just gonna throw this out there, he was supposed to be written as Joss Whedon's insertion of himself.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah, and knowing what you know,
and knowing what you know about Joss Whedon now, I'm like, yeah.
Damn,
so Josh can play the skateboard. Jeez. Josh can ride a skateboard too?
Yeah, that's how he came onto set the first day. He just slid into the studio and knocked everybody over.
Skateboard. It might have been it was his skateboard.
Probably, yeah. It was like, I need this back. I don't want to play it for too much. Okay, so it's getting there. I can kind of see things slowly forming up. So how do they go through the episodes? So they're looking for like the tunnels. Now you're defining roles.
Yeah, like they get to the point where Buffy leaves the school. They figure out that with the tunnels, that when Luke attacked her in the last episode, he came from behind while she was facing the door. So they figure out, oh, the mausoleum is the door in the tunnel to the underground where they go. Like they use logic to explain how this stuff happens. Like, oh, that was the tunnel. That was one of the entrances to the tunnel. We need to go back to the cemetery, and then. Surprisingly, because, he needs to prove himself, Xander shows up out of nowhere. She's like, what the hell are you doing here? He's like, well, Jesse's my buddy. Jesse's my best friend. I want to help save him too. So she's like, well, shit, you're already here.
But first, we see Angel again.
Yes.
And he's cryptic yet again. And eventually Buffy's just like, you know what? I have to go do this. So you just, whatever, shut up. And then he gives her directions for what to do when she gets in there. And then she calls him friendless, basically.
Yeah, dude. I saw the pain in his face whenever she said that. It's like, don't you have friends? And he just like immediately frowns in silence.
It's like that Simpsons episode with Ralph and Lisa with the Valentine's. Like, and at this point, you can see where his heart breaks.
Yeah, it's exactly like that. I thought it's pretty good.
And then
I've been friend zoned, but at that point, even I'm like, bruh.
Well, and then she's like, all right, I'm going in, wish me luck. And then she walks away and she's like all the way down the hall and he goes, good luck.
It's like he whispers and he's like, good luck. Like he secretly wanted her to do well, but he didn't want her to know, but he had to say it. Like,
oh God. So it's a bit painful then. Now, Jess asked last time, do I want to watch it? Maybe just for this scene. Maybe I just watched episode 2. Just like not even this first one. I have no idea. I was like watched the first 3 minutes and then like this episode. That's amazing. That's so sad. It's high school.
I also want to point out we get a nice little bit of Willow sass. Because Cordelia.
I love that scene. I love that scene.
Willow's sass. I thought it said Willow's ass. I was like,
ooh.
No.
Some of that Willow's ass.
Now I really want to watch this show. You're right.
No. This scene was great because I wasn't necessarily Willow, but I was the kid that always got picked on. So this scene is very cathartic to me.
Yeah, so Cordelia and Harmony are in computer class and they're just being shitty in general. And they finish their program and they've made all kinds of snarky comments and Will is just annoyed. And she's like, well, what do we do? How do we, finish up the program? And she says, oh, hit the deliver button, which is actually the delete button.
I didn't
so
even
when they
think
hit
about
it,
that.
it goes like all their work is gone.
Like whenever she said that, like I was like deliver button, and then like whenever I saw her like hit DEL, I was like, oh, that's what she meant. Like that was really smart.
And to be fair, though, that scene, because that scene was there to establish, hey, we're going to the Bronze again tonight. Even though there was an attack the night before, we're still going because that's what the popular kids do. And then they also reveal later on, oh, so this was basically a scene strictly to show that, hey, Willow's got a little snark because it's there just for that because they established later on, oh, hey, they're going to the Bronze, so.
And honestly, it's such a nice moment of characterization for Willow that I forgot it was episode 2. I thought it was later on in the season. It sticks out.
She wasn't rude. She wasn't trying to be like, I'm going to get him. She goes, oh, no, go ahead and hit the deliver button. You'll be fine. Bye.
Yeah, but we go back.
She was trying to be helpful. She's like, no, it's the deliver button. You'll be fine.
We go back down to the tunnel, and Buffy and Xander find Jesse in chains, which Buffy is able to very easily break.
Was he in chains? I thought he was just laying down on the ground.
No, he was laying down on the ground.
You can be laying down and in chains.
I didn't see the chains. I just thought he was just like acting like he was passed out on the ground.
There's bondage. Great. That's all high schools have, right? It was like English, AP, bio, and bondage. That was my schedule. Yeah.
Yeah. But so we see her break the chain and they're trying to find a way out. They see a bunch of other vampires whose makeup is clearly ripped off from Evil Dead. Jesse tricks them saying that he knows a way out, but then they end up like trapped into this little room and we see, Jesse's not Jesse anymore. He's a vampire.
Did not see that one coming.
Now,
Travis is not impressed. Yeah, well, because they didn't know that he was a vampire. He wasn't in vamp face, and he was just saying, "Oh, I don't know how I got down here." And so he's like, "I think we go out this way." And then they wind up in this little room. He's a vampire, and basically Buffy ends up throwing him out at the other vampires that are coming at them. And she closes the door, and
they crawl out through the crawl space or the manhole cover.
Yeah. And they're escaping into the daylight, so the vampires can't follow them because they start smoking when they get into the day, into the sun.
Like cigarettes?
Oh yeah.
The new vampires just fake in the sunlight.
It's the reboot.
Also, I just want to say there are a lot of doors that got broken down in the first few episodes, and they're all such terrible effects.
Oh my god!
This was like they put a layer of aluminum foil across a doorway and had them fold it down. It's so bad. It's so bad.
Well, that's kind of how I do my bedroom now too. Aluminum foil and every once in a while, it keeps the heat in and out.
It also keeps the alien mind rays from attacking you, too.
Well,
exactly.
Yeah, that's what the black light's for, too.
I've seen signs. I know how it works.
So, when the Master learns that Buffy and Xander have escaped, he's pissed. And the vampire that is relaying this news, his name is Colin, he gets stabbed in the eye. But I wasn't paying attention to the captions.
You hear like a squish, and then the subtitle said "squish his nose," but then like it's clearly like him poking his eyes. So like it kind of looks like, is he like sticking it up his nose, or is he like poking his eyes? Or
I think it's just a typo in the captions. I think it's supposed to say "squishing noise."
But I kind of like the idea of like in the script it says "and squish his nose."
It's like, I pooped you.
Yeah,
poop your nose.
Now I want to watch everything with captions. I think that's brilliant, and it's it kind of goes into play of it all. It really does, because you can get poked in the nose or the eye, and it's always fun until you cry. So the Master is not like ripping him a new one; it's just kind of like Three Stooging it.
Essentially,
he's like the best evil in the world, and he's like basically Mo Howard. Okay.
Well, no, because he screwed up because, well, they established earlier that when they originally bring Jesse in, Darla's like, "Oh, hi, I've already tasted him. He's good to go, master." And he's like, "Wait, I'm the master, and you're bringing me scraps? I don't want this guy." So the master's like, "Hey, we'll use him as bait." And then this happens before they. And then afterwards, when Buffy and Xander escape, the vampire comes up and says, "Hi, we failed. This, that, and the other." And Master's like, "Yeah, okay. Oh, by the way, you got something in your eye." Thunk.
Nice. Like your tail lights out. Boom. Oh,
yeah.
Dude. He's that cop. Okay, got it.
We cut quickly to Willow giving Giles some research about murders in the town. And then we cut back down to the tunnel where the master is monologuing now, talking about the harvest. The makeup department is super, super mean because they gave Julie Benz like these dramatic false eyelashes on top of her like big forehead prosthetic. Like she can barely see.
I made a note in here saying, don't do close-ups of these vampires. Like it's just not good. Like maybe later in the series if it gets better, but it just isn't looking good right now.
And Luke has on a like dude bro shell choker necklace.
Oh yeah.
I needed to talk about that for a second. It's
the way he looks. He reminds me of that guy from Final Destination 2, the guy that won the lottery.
Oh yeah, I can see that.
I mean, in his defense, it was 1997, and we did do that.
Did we though? Did we?
Oh, I didn't. I was the flannel kid though.
I'm still the flannel kid.
Flannel was my gang color, man.
I wore a lot of flannels.
But so the master is talking about how Luke is going to be his vessel for the harvest. Basically what he's doing, since the master can't leave this underground area, Luke is going to go above ground and he's going to eat as many people as he can, which will give the master the strength to get out from underground and then start the apocalypse.
Yeah, he puts the mark on his forehead, kind of be like, the big old sign. It's like, "Hi, master's favorite right here. Excuse me, guys, going through."
It is an upside down version of the Tesla symbol. So Elon Musk is an evil vampire confirmed.
Oh, damn.
Maybe. That explains a lot of his tweets now.
Vampires in space when he gets out there. That's the sequel we're all waiting for.
Yeah.
They all eventually go there, don't they? All things go to space. You know, what was it? Hellraiser went to space. Jason went to space.
Leprechaun went to space.
Leprechaun, Jeff Bezos, all the big monsters all go to space.
I want to imagine that because Jeff Bezos' flight was 11 minutes, that Elon Musk is going to make his 12.
Just to be that guy.
Fucking pissing contest from billionaires. I hate it.
Yeah.
Right? A public one. Yeah, a public pissing contest.
Yeah.
I so love the pettiness of the FAA clearly establishing that they're not astronauts. They are space tourists.
Oh no. Which we could have here as well as space. So basically, the Luke guy is the master space tourist. He has to go out and like Pac-Man it, gobble everyone up.
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
So, So we have that. We know something is happening. This is what the harvest is. We cut back to the library, and this is where we officially establish that this is called the Hellmouth and not just the mouth of hell.
The Hellmouth.
Big difference.
Yeah, it's totally two completely different things.
Yeah. One is a person I know in Vegas, and wait, that was a different thing. Sorry, different podcast, guys. Sorry. That was going deep. All right. Oh.
That's what she said.
So they're at the club. They have to be clubbing, right? That's
so yeah. So they've talked about what Giles has figured out that the harvest is happening based on his texts and the moon alignment and the date or whatever. I don't know, but he says that it's coming tonight and that they're gonna have a feeding frenzy on pure blood. And Xander's like, well, they're going to the Bronze Den, and everybody's like, well, how can you know that? And he's like, duh, because that's where every young person in this town goes to at night.
He's like, I know that's where Jesse's gonna go.
Even though there was an attack there the night before, they're like, we have to go because we need to be staying at the Bronze.
To be fair, the night before, it was really just Darla and Thomas leading Willow and Jesse away, and Buffy almost attacking Cordelia. So as far as they know, Buffy's the only issue.
It's just another Wednesday night.
Yeah, basically.
And then we get a parent again, just for plot purpose. Yeah. We get Buffy's mom, who says she got a call from Flutie about her having already missed classes on day 2. So she grounds Buffy, tells her she's not allowed to go out. But Buffy's like, Mom. And then she just, she packs up her holy water and backup stakes and goes out the window.
Like, this was a good scene, though, because you felt like, the way Joyce portrayed, like, she genuinely cares about Buffy.
Yeah, I think she really does want Buffy to not, like, she believes in Buffy's ability to be a good student and not get in trouble, and she's not mean about it. It's a sensible thing for a parent to be like, it's day 2, you got expelled from your last school. We just moved here. You're already cutting classes. No, of course you cannot go to this club on a school night. It's perfectly like, she's not yelling at her. She's just like, no. I think it's reasonable parenting moment.
And they also established that her mom is trying to open up some sort of art gallery at the same time. She's like, look, we just moved here. We found a spot. I'm trying to open up an art gallery. I can't watch you every second of the day. You need to start becoming a responsible person and doing these things.
So do we actually see her sneak out the window?
I don't know if we ever
I don't think so, because
we just know she sneaks out.
Well, yeah, because she has to have dinner with her mom or else she would get in trouble, because her mom's trying to make her go downstairs and have dinner with her. And then later,
her mom says, if you don't want to come downstairs, I get it, if you're mad at me.
Oh, she did?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, either way, I know that like later whenever she gets to the club, she talks about, she's like, well, I didn't know I was going to be grounded, but like I didn't know like how she got out. Like,
yeah, and I might have projected that from later episodes where we see her actually sneak out the window.
Yeah, it's like, what took you so long? It's like, I got grounded. It took me a while to sneak out.
That's reasonable. I mean, she's killing people. I think grounding is the least that the mom can do. Okay, honey, try to keep it under 30 bodies this time. Don't burn down the gym.
I don't need the police here again.
Oh, man.
So we get to the Bronze. Inside, we see Cordy and the Cordettes. She's talking about...
Really called that? I'm sorry. Have they really called the Cordettes?
I don't know if it's ever actually officially said in the show. Yeah. Do you remember, Xander?
I think
offhand, I don't.
No, I think that they did say that in one of the episodes we watched.
No, Willow refers to her and Xander as Slayerettes.
No, I thought I heard Cordettes at a point. Maybe not. I don't know.
Watch this show, because I will. I will watch this show just for that.
Oh, no. Don't, Jim.
Don't prep for the podcast or anything.
Oh, no. My prep, this is the best podcast I have, because my prep is like nothing. It's like, just show up and ask dumb questions. Like, how the hell this happened?
Yeah, so Vampire Jesse apparently is... I don't know if he's necessarily smooth. He just doesn't take no for an answer.
No, he's not smooth. He's just, it gives him like that confidence, I guess, that attracts Cordelia.
No, she's not attracted. He literally grabs her and forces her to dance with him.
He gets kind of rapey almost at some point.
Yes.
But she does say, okay, one dance,
I don't like it.
Like, I'm not saying it's good, but I'm not also saying she didn't, like, she was doing it against her will at that point. Like, she's like, okay, I'll dance with you one time.
I think she was trying to do it just to be like, fine, I'll dance once, then you have to go away because...
I read it as she was into him at that point, because he had his hair slicked back and, he's looking a little pale, so he's looking pretty good right now. And then he just, like, goes up there and grabs her, and he's like, yeah, he tells her to shut up. He's like, shut up. We're dancing.
I don't like that. I don't like that. Because he's bossy and not taking no for an answer and literally telling her to shut up, that we're supposed to see it as he's so much smoother and more attractive now. I don't like that piece of writing, and I don't like that is what the interpretation is meant to be, because I do think that's how it's meant to come across, but it's not a good look. And again, look who wrote it.
Yeah, again, I'm not saying that's a good thing. I'm not in support of it, but I'm just saying, like, that's definitely what's going on here. Like, it made her a little bit more attracted to him.
Like, there's literally one point in the upcoming fight where he has her pinned down to the floor and says, "You are not making this easy." It's gross.
Like, it's one step away from, like, I'm not saying when it says it doesn't seem, it's not like it, oh, you may interpret it as it coming across as rapey. It's like, no, if this was not on network television, there would have probably been a rape attempt. I'm not even joking. It's that obvious.
Okay, now I'm going to not explain this. I'm going to ask a question based upon the time this was done. Okay. And maybe not so much network, but just the time frame, which is what, the mid-90s, I'm guessing?
97.
97, okay. Mid to late. I was teaching a class long ago in screenwriting, and this student from France never seen a John Hughes film. I'm like, oh, yeah, Pretty in Pink and Breakfast Club, you got to see these films. Like, they define a generation. And she's like, great, I'm going to study John Hughes. And I think she did, like, 16 Candles. And she was just aghast. It's like, the whole film is about rape. I'm like,
I literally cannot get through Breakfast Club. John Bender under the table, trying to take pictures of Molly Ringwald's skirt. No, can't do it. I just, it's so skeezy, and I don't get how this is seen as such a lovable movie.
It defines generation, though. That's why.
I do think it's a product of the time, but at the same time, it's, like, I would think that even if I didn't watch this first run. I'd watched it once it had gone on DVD. But even first run, once he had her pinned to the floor, you couldn't say, oh, there's a subtle, it's like, no, this is like,
far along.
Yeah, like, this is not subtle at all.
No.
Like, he's got her shoulders pinned to the floor, basically nuzzling her. It's like, no, just either
hold still and take it.
Yeah. Or it's going to, the more you struggle, the worse it's going to be.
Yeah. And remember, kids, as we established many years ago, rape is not our sponsor.
No.
And, it's, you have to look at the things that came out during a time framed in that time period. I remember Cab Calloway movies where Cab Calloway, like Minnie the Moocher, most people know him as the benevolent guy in Blues Brothers. He straight out smacks someone up, smacks his woman up because she didn't bring him a drink. The first 5 minutes of the show, I'm like, oh, Cab Calloway was kind of an abuser. Cool.
Or like Revenge of the Nerds. There was the scene where they were, once again, I loved the movie, Revenge of the Nerds. I love that movie. But you can still see, you can like something and still call out the problematic parts, because there was a scene where one of the nerds was dressed in the same costume as one of the frat boys. That frat boy's girlfriend was laying drunk in the bed, and the nerd's like, oh, here I go.
That's icky, man.
Yeah. And I do, acknowledging the time it's made in, I see your point there, Jim, but I also feel like it is 2021 and we are looking at things through a different lens now. And I think it is, calling it out for what it is. But I also do think that there's a big point, because they keep reiterating to Willow and Xander, because Jesse was their friend, and they keep reiterating that it's not Jesse anymore. It's a demon. So I think they're really trying to hit home the point that vampires are bad, which we know, but they're really showing some of the sadism here. And when the vampires come in, there's this cool slow-mo shot that happens, and Darla's leading the pack, which I just fucking love.
That reminded me of not the Strangers, the Purge. Whenever they're walking up to the house, just skipping along.
Oh, that's cool.
But yeah, so they get in, and it's this whole performative thing where Luke's on stage and he is pulling people up and draining them one by one.
And he brings the bouncer up from the last episode. He brings him up to the stage. I mean, I thought it was shot nice. I thought it was shot well.
Yeah, I liked this scene. And Buffy has broken in through the back while Giles, Willow, and Xander are trying to figure out a way to get in through the front and get the survivors out. is what their plan is. So it
they
turns
have a
into
plan.
this, yeah.
That's
But it turns into this whole big fight scene.
But yeah,
No.
you get Luke and Buffy on the stage having this fight. And, like, I enjoyed the fight. Like, I get you can't do a whole lot with it. Like, I'm an action movie guy. I like my action movies. But I like that they did what they could do with the fight. But the end of the fight really kind of pissed me off.
Okay, so what happens is that Buffy breaks like a light cover.
right.
And like, oh, you forgot about sunrise, Luke, but it really isn't sunrise. It's a light bulb, but it tricks him long enough for her to dust him. But here's what bothers me about that is Hocus Pocus came out in 1994, and they did basically the same thing to trick the Sanderson sisters.
The thing that got me with that is, doesn't she like drive the stake through his back?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's still where his heart is.
Okay, I thought they always had to do it from the front.
No.
Okay.
But the part that bothered me about that scene is that, and I'm using logic on a TV show about vampires. I know, but we established that Luke is not stupid.
Mm-mm.
He's, if you're going to be the right hand man of the master, he does have some sort of intelligence attached to him. So when she's like, "Oh, it's sunlight," he's like, "Ah!" And I was like, if you're there, and it has to, I would say, maybe we'll go 10, 11 o'clock in the evening, we'll say.
Yeah, like...
And so it's like, how would you not know? If you're a vampire, you should know when the sun rises.
Maybe if you've been alive for centuries, time just stops really mattering.
Yeah, but it's
it
like
just flows the way it flows.
You have us, on a
pandemic.
school night, it's the fact that, so you would have, all of a sudden this makes it seem like Luke's assuming that they're there at 4 or 5 in the morning.
Well, we don't really know how long he's been there, like, attacking these people, because it seems like he's been like slowly bringing more and more people up on stage and drinking their blood for a while.
When it's all said and done, it's still dark outside once everybody leaves. So I can see like, they leave, they establish that it's sunrise, so people have literally been there all night. But when it's all said and done, it's still dark. I'm like, it makes it seem like he's so stupid. Like for a guy that's portrayed as intelligent for the majority of 2 episodes, for him to be all of a sudden a dunce for like the last 2 minutes that he's there.
I kind of just took it as him like having like a flinch, like a reaction, just like he saw light suddenly and it like freaked him out. And it was drawn out just a little bit too long. Like I can see it being like an initial reaction and then realizing it's not sun. But, I think they needed to give Buffy enough time to, get that stake and get him.
I'm going to throw this out there. This is a pin for the entire podcast, not just this episode, because it will come up in later episodes and it also comes up in Angel the series. But I take some issue with the fact that Luke is treated like the most important right-hand man for the master and Darla is treated as less than important. Mm-hmm. Just remember that for future episodes. I'll talk about it more later.
Once again, once you realize how not good of a person Joss Whedon is, like
allegedly,
allegedly, like you don't see this at first, like when you first watch it, or you're not familiar with his alleged situation. But once you realize it and you see it, it's very, very obvious.
Yeah, for a show that's meant to turn the trope of like the little blonde damsel in distress on its head, there is a lot of like misogyny written into the script and plot.
And I didn't realize it until I started watching it again for the podcast. I was like, oh my,
So are you sure I should watch this now? We're like, yeah, this show is basically, from what I hear, it's got like a British pedophile. And it's got like a skateboarder who can't skateboard, and it's got like rape and basically misogynistic and teenage bondage. Like
to be fair, at the point that Jesse was in the bondage, he was no longer a teenager; he's a vampire.
Oh, okay, well, yeah.
But and to be fair, the show is, even with the real life problems some people may or may not have allegedly had. It's still a good show.
And the whole reason... This is a tricky conversation to have without any spoilers. The whole reason Buffy, like the character, the whole reason she is as successful as a Slayer that she is because she does the opposite of what our patriarchal society and the lore of the Slayer creation is intending for her to do, which we can talk about in more detail when we get to those episodes that give us some more of that background. But her as a character is really like there are some really truly awesome moments with that.
Yeah,
and there's a lot to talk about.
Yeah, and then with the one thing that they do touch on in the first episode, and they touch on throughout the series, there's only one Slayer in the world at one time.
Yeah.
So Buffy's the only Slayer in the whole world.
Mm-hmm.
So what are people in other countries supposed to do?
Die.
Oh
yeah, basically.
They're effed, man.
And then
thank God for the airplane.
Buffy has to, or whoever the Slayer is, has to actually die before.
We haven't established that lore yet.
No, didn't they?
No.
Okay, never mind.
That won't come up until near the end of the season.
Okay, well then disregard. I didn't say anything. Shh.
That's okay. We can edit. So my main question, and this gets into spoilers. You don't have to answer. It appears. It seems from an outsider's point of view that even the terms the Master and the Watcher and whatnot, the Slayer, they're all written for like a very old religion.
Yeah,
and it doesn't necessarily mean it has to be truthful. It's just people trying to impose a certain set of rules on something that may not apply anymore.
Yeah, basically.
Okay, cool. See, I'm paying attention.
All right. Travis, do you want to talk about this closing scene?
Yeah, basically. So they just go back to the next day and they're at school and nobody gives a fuck that half of their, their class is dead now. Nobody brings it up. Everybody's like super happy about it too. They're like, oh yeah,
Yeah, Cordelia's like, I heard it was gangs.
Yeah, and like Buffy was there and she knew the people and it was really weird. And that's that. Like they just don't even acknowledge it.
Yeah. I like how Giles is like, well, I think we're going to be together for many more adventures, not just vampires, but all manner of spookies.
Xander and Widow so this is done, it's over, we're finished, right? He's like, no, because, there's succubi and werewolves and this and that. And you're like, oh. They thought this was a one and done. Giles is like, yeah, not even close. We're literally, the school's literally on an entrance to hell.
Sound like basically they're just setting up the rest of the series. Like, oh yeah, we can have, Jim said, we can even have leprechauns.
Yeah. There you go. Damn right. Everyone should have a leprechaun once in a while. This is the one of the things about the Buffy universe that, so the students didn't say anything the next day, really. But okay, if I am at the Bronze, it's called. If I'm at the Bronze, this dude's just like bringing people up to eat. Why don't I just leave? Like, I think I might be missing that part.
Other vampires regarding the door, not letting anybody
spooky.
out. Yeah.
And why don't they just kill? Okay. So it's like is it the more afraid they are, the more powerful the blood is, or it's just just kind of like, screw it. We could have killed you all in like 5 seconds, but we're just kind of dragging this out because
Luke had to be the one to drink their blood because he was the vessel for the Master.
When they put the mark on the forehead.
Okay.
Also, this makes it hard for me to buy the fact that nobody else in this world believes in vampires because they just witness a guy sucking blood from so many people.
They rationalized it away.
By a gang?
Yep.
Yeah.
Just you wait till season 3, sir.
Bath
Okay.
salts. It's all bath salts. The guy's just eating a face off. So this is how it ends. That's how the season. Wow, the episode ends.
Yep.
That's it's amazing. I'm not sold. I'm not convinced yet. I'm not sold.
It's a fun little shot too because it's got like this happy boppy music that sounds like the end out of a typical like 90s teen sitcom. I just kind of like the way that it's done because they've had this whole big serious thing and then it's like
It's a Menthos commercial. Love it.
Yeah, it's like everybody's dead. It's like it almost reminds me of going back. We were talking a little bit about anime earlier, where it's like, oh, this is like I dabbled anime. My friends, I'm the one, basically the one of my friend group that ability to watch anime, and I've noticed like, oh, this is a deep, dark episode, and here's the theme. I'm like, didn't somebody just get eaten by a dragon? And
you literally almost did the Dragon Ball.
Kinda.
yeah, and it's like, oh my god, he's died. He was such a valued member.
It's all in good fun.
Yeah, and I'm just like, I've always found that part of anime interesting.
You should listen to the Death Note intro.
That's what I was about to say. The Death Note intro is fucking awesome.
I'm still not sold on this one, this intro, but this is shaping up. And really, I can kind of see it played out in my mind right now, and I can't wait for a little, not too much of a spoiler, a little preview. What's the next episode called?
Which?
The next one.
Which?
Oh my god! Okay, the next episode what is this?
It's about a witch.
Who's on first?
Oh shit! I was sold on that one. I was like, God damn it, Jim!
Damn it, Jim! I'm a vampire, not a doctor.
And with that, I'm Jim Phoenix on behalf of my ensemble. We got Travis, we got Jess, we got Xander. We're gonna say thanks, everyone. See you next time when we're watching which episode? They never told me. I don't know. Bye, everyone.